everybody, what's happening? Tommy, you're on the lifeboat. Hope you're having a hell of a day. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about, people. You know what? Unless I really wrap the old dome on, I'm sure I can probably hate. So let's just get to business, shall we? We won't stand on the ceremony. Cindy, good to see you. What's happening? Cindy, how are you? Cindy, good to see you. Barbara Roberts, I'm glad you're here. Okay, how are you? Hey, Kristen, thanks for all the effort. You know, people, the state of California has moved forward in the case of the Menendez brothers. Produced in the chat. Hello, Lisa Turtle, good to see you. Randy Calloway, there's my brother. How are you, man? Caroline Cameron, good to see you. Hey, just Joan, produced in the chat. If you would like to see the Menendez brothers walk free, I know there's a lot of people that don't. Here's the thing. We're never going to know. Here's Tommy's take. We're never going to know exactly what happens, right? We're not going to know what happens at all. I know more to see. We're not going to know whether or not, what was in their heart. This is one of those unique cases where we're not arguing whether or not the Menendez brothers killed their parents. That's not in dispute. This is an innocence project kind of thing. These guys whacked their parents. They shot their mother and their father with shotguns. That's about as nasty. That's just really horrific stuff. Their actions afterwards weren't great. Hey, Tampa P, good to see you. Their actions afterwards weren't the kind of things that you want your kids to do, right? Or anybody you care about. They bought Porsches and Rolex watches and kind of went hard. However, hindsight being 2020, when we look back now, there's a kid who was in the boy band Menudo. This is a band that parents started in, I think, San Juan, Puerto Rico originally, and then kind of really traveled all over South America and most of Latin America, and they were super, super popular. As they got older, they just replaced them with younger kids. So the band was able to tour for decades, perpetually tweeners. These are all boys that were going to be, the young guys had the young one, Jackson 5 was a younger kid, so the younger one was usually a preteen, the rest of them probably started trading out when they hit 14 or 15. And the Menendez father, Lionel Eric's dad, managed that band. One of the members of the band was an adult mind now, and he's come forward and said that he was molested by the Menendez. It's pretty nasty. But this guy apparently had been a legit child molester. There's really nothing. This guy gains nothing by coming forward and saying this. In fact, it just opens up a whole can of crap in his life. But he said he's coming forward now because of the guilt, knowing that had he not, if he had said something back then, maybe it would have been a different result. As I was saying, we don't know. No one's ever going to know what they had in their hearts when they squeezed the trigger. No one's ever going to know if the abuse that they cried out on the stand was legit or if it was something they cooked up to try to get out of trouble. So all you can do is judge someone by their actions, right? And the actions of killing their parents, as I said, is not in dispute. So all you can do is judge Eric and Lionel Menendez on what they have done since getting incarcerated. And they could have gone into prison, started doing dope, running poker tables, and doing all stuff like that in prison, right? Until they got sober, just acting like a jackass, partying, making wine, doing drugs, all the stuff that makes you get in trouble. However, that didn't happen. These cats have never had any kind of write-up. They managed to get through all of that time in prison, not just surviving, but thriving. Right? These guys have. And by thriving, I don't mean, hey, mom, I don't mean they're killing it. You know, they're making money. They're teaching people to read. They set up programs for inmates who are going in there illiterate. I'll be honest, right? We talked about this a lot in life. You're new to the boat. It may come as a shock to you to find out how we decide in the United States of America how many prison cells we ought to be building. Alex, where are you? How do we find out how many? I mean, there's got to be an equation, right? There's got to be an actuary somewhere that's figuring out how many beds do we need to make to accommodate for all the crime we're going to be seeing 15 years from now. It's not a hard thing to predict, don't you think? You know how they do it? They check the literacy rates in the 4th grade, and based on the number of boys who are illiterate in the 4th grade, they know how many prison cells to build. That's right. Debbie says by not being able to read. It's sad as hell, right? But that is exactly how they do it. Hey, Lindy, good to see you. This is how they do it, and it leads you to wonder because we borrow the money to build the prisons, and they cost like $50,000 to buy modular. They're not. They bring those puppies in, modern ones like Victorville and Atwater, more modern prisons in the federal system. They come in like Legos, and your whole little your yourself got a shower in, it's already concrete, the toilets there, sinks there, everybody, the place, but each of those little blocks that they're bringing in, they're dropping about $50,000. They got to borrow that, right? So it costs, I mean, an incredible amount of money. Wouldn't it be cheaper to teach these kids to read? Wouldn't it be a whole lot cheaper to teach the boys to read, right? I mean, holy hell. Not to mention the damage to society because nobody goes to prison the first time around. They got a lot of chances. Everybody does. You get a lot of chances, and if we're keeping it real, you get a lot more chances if you're white. I mean, that's the reality. But they do give you a lot of chances. Nobody goes to prison the first time they get arrested unless they're killing people. But if what you're doing is like it's drug crime or it's it's theft or things like that, they do try to work with people. They really do. But it would make a lot more sense if we just taught people to read. But sadly, that really isn't. It is a lot cheaper to educate. Who would they vote for then? Boy, you cynic. I'll tell you what though, you're probably right. There is an awful lot of political clout around inmates. Inmates are a hot button subject. There are a lot of people who have inmates who are inside. This is far more recent because we've incarcerated so many more people now that things like mothers against mandatory minimums, families against mandatory minimums, all these things that have risen out of this is because now you got a lot of people that everybody's been touched by somebody going to prison. It's usually drugs these days. The United States is 4% of the world's population, but it's 26% of the incarcerated population on Earth. That's pretty ugly, right? And then we have episodes of cops. You make a great point. You make a great point. And I guess we'll back to cops now. For a while, I was so politically incorrect. They scrapped all Langley and Barber, the producers of that show. Everybody sort of went like, we never glorify cops. Well, now people want to see it. It's the most popular show in the world. They canceled it, right? So now the cops thing's coming back. But who knows? But back to Lionel Eric Menendez. What they've done is I have something in my eyes driving me nuts. What they've done is they've modified that sentence. So that one time, what they're looking at was life without the possibility of parole. They would die in prison. What they've changed the sentence to is Eric Menendez has now been sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. This is a very different. This is a very different sentence. Now the brothers are eligible for parole. And again, they have all their good time. I don't get any idea how difficult that is to do, but they have all their good time. They've managed, and they're not. I mean, flying under the radar prisons and these guys are famous. Right? These guys are like their parents. If to coin a phrase, if these guys, if they're not the genuine article, this is the best long con ever. I mean, they went to prison, and I mean, if you spend from 1989 to 2025 doing every single thing right, just on the outside chance that they may end up someday giving you a break, I don't think you earned it. I mean, I don't think you can BS being a good person for 35 years without accidentally becoming one. Right? I don't know, maybe I'm crazy on this, but I think that they have demonstrated that the world's probably going to be safe if they're on the street. And I also think that the world might be a better place with them on the street. Right? They've the number of people whose lives they've touched, and I knew people, I had friends that were life in prison, who decided that since they were not going to be able to get to the street likely, that they were going to try to influence people who were going to get to the street, so maybe they got a positive effect on the planet. And if that's what Menendez brothers did, then damn it, man, maybe they'll be able to. Kitty's the mom, and Kitty Menendez. Now, Kitty, the question. Quick question mark. We could be talking about a lot of question marks. One of them is this: if that was molesting, why should the mom then kill both of them? That's question comes a lot because they did blast mom in the face. But on the stand, they said that the mother Kitty Menendez was very aware of the fact that the both of them were being molested by the father and didn't do anything to stop it, which is why they felt the need to kill mom as well. I don't know, right? I really don't. I can't know. I don't know whether or not that's legit. I tend to think that if that kind of abuse was going on in the house, then there's a really good chance Kitty Menendez knew about it, and they lived a very comfortable life. It was exactly the right company. They made a ton of money. They lived in Beverly Hills, and sometimes, I'm not saying it's happened to Kitty, I'm not trying to talk ill of the dead. There are times where people get into a lifestyle where, according to the boys, she's drunk all the time and liked all the accoutrements of wealth and wasn't going to rock the boat with her abusive husband. She was just going to let this happen to her kids. That is all. Allegedly, the family split on this. There are people in the family that still think that, Kitty was as good as it gets. I imagine, I have sisters. It would be very hard for me to hear that either of them were, pieces of shit. That would be a tough thing. I don't know. But there are also a lot of people in that family that have said, no, you know what? Their father was an abusive jerk. Like, he was one of the worst people ever. Good night, Mr. Trimble. I hope you have a good night. Thank you for spending some time with us. I really appreciate that. Mom's supposed to protect her children. She didn't, says Tampa B. You know what? How do you argue this, right? How do you argue this point? Mom's supposed to protect her children. She didn't. She was the only one who could stop it, and she didn't. You know what? I don't know that a lot of people are going to disagree with Tampa B on this. Honestly, I don't. I think that most of us believe that as parents, our job is to protect kids. And I put a deuce in the chat. If I know it's a lot easier said than done, right? But put a deuce in the chat if you would kill your significant other for that. Who says, do you mean you can't get past killing Kitty? I can understand that, and that's legit, by the way. I'm not dissing, there's no reason whatsoever to be upset with this on this one. The killing of the mother, right? For a lot of people, that's a real hang-up. And I'll tell you something, folks. I can't imagine the level of abuse that it would take to be able to point a shotgun at my mother or father's head and take their head off of their shoulders. These boys grew up in a lap of luxury. They were no stranger to a shotgun was going to do to their parents' face. This was these boys that had gone on, shot, gone out and played with 12-gauge shotguns. They had every idea exactly what I was going to do. Now, if it were greed, right? I think about this, and I think about the logical standpoint. If you're just trying to bump your parents off to get the money, see, that shit to me shows such a level of hate and such a level of complete I don't give a you know what. I mean to say, I'm not just killing them, I'm going to obliterate them. And they didn't do it once, right? They were racking it. It was a horrific scene. And I don't know, I think it shows a really double buckshot. And it sounds like this is where nothing in the world does more damage than double buckshot. I was explaining this the other day to a relative. The concept behind the shotgun as a defense weapon as opposed to using a pistol or anything like that. And it's if you look at a pistol, right? Let's say I'm 25 feet away from you. If that thing gets a little bit off, right? Just a little bit off, how much further that bullet is going to be left the target by the time it gets to it is incredible. If you watch old westerns, right? And these guys stand 70, 80 feet apart from each other in the street to quick draw and shoot each other. I mean, honestly, it would really take a miracle. It's a difficult thing to hit with a pistol. The wider you carry something called peacemaker. The barrel's about that long. Okay, for real, it's a freak show pistol. But the longer the barrel, the more accurate the gun. That's why rifles. Because now you're not looking like this. Now you're pointing down this very long, right? This long barrel at the end of it. You line up the two deals. The shotgun, there's none of that. You may have heard the term trying to get a bead on it. Okay, shotgun doesn't have a back sight. It just has a front sight. It looks like a bead. It's kind of below the end of the barrel, right? And that's the bead. All you gotta do is put the bead in the general direction of anything. Because as opposed to a rifle barrel, which sends a bullet out that spins very accurate, this is a smooth bore. So the bullets come out of the end of the barrel, like a knuckleball from a pitcher. Now keep in mind that it's not one projectile. There's going to be a whole tube full of big round lead shots, right? And the double lock is the biggest one for shooting deer butts. And the kill ratio, right? The kill radius when you fire this thing is going to be wiping out anything 20 feet away, right? 20 feet across because it scatters out like this. It goes scattered. If you were to put those double lock buckshot rounds into a head, it's going to remove it from the body. There's no way to do that justice other than to say that. And I understand that, but again, I think I could be wrong, man. I mean, I'm wrong a lot. I'm really wrong a lot. But this is the kind of thing that can make somebody. I mean, I think it shows the amount of hate they had to mother. In order to be able to do this to mother and father, I think it legitimizes exactly what that about, right? Molestation young boys wasn't talked about back then. Major taboo. Now it's commonplace, unfortunately. We hear about it a lot more now. There's still a horrific stigma on boys that are molested. There's stigma anyway. There's the whole masculine thing, like boys shouldn't tough to fight off and shit, which is garbage, right? Kids can't do that. But in the kid's head, because we, from the time of 3 years old, we got G.I. Joe, we got Bruce Willis playing John McClane, right? You go back down, you're going to take care of yourself. Kids get that crap in their head, and they're molested at 13, 14, so jack them for the rest of their life. And I'm not justifying anything but I'm interested. I just think that if it was a money grab, I don't know that you got completely obliterated with shotgun. That shows the kind of hate. That shows an intimacy and a you really had to build up a really, really ugly amount of hate, right? Not, Chris Malone makes a good point. At least they're talking about it. Lisa Miller says they had enough and snapped, in my opinion. I think, Lisa Miller, your opinion is shared with a lot of America currently. There's so many segments about those who doesn't want people to kill their parents with shotguns. I understand that. But as someone said, right, everybody has passed. This past is as ugly as it can get. But what have you done since, right? Honestly, if they got into prison and then got spun off in drugs and spent 4 or 5 years finding who they were, right, and then maybe 7, 8 years trying to figure out exactly what's going on, and then turned their life around and started to rehabilitate. They came to the door and went straight to trying to be good people and taught a lot of folks how to read and set up different programs. When they leave, the system will still be teaching people to read because things they implemented in place. I think that's, I don't know, it's as good as you can get, right? The whole you got to grow wherever you're planted kind of thing. They were planted in a pretty ugly situation and made a lot of good. And they're gonna get out. It's that simple. I mean, the men that are going to get out. There's it's at this point. At this point, it's almost an impossibility that they wouldn't. You see, when you go back in front of the parole board, the parole board is now not going to go, oh wait, you had life. Their job is to just look at your performance, right? If you're going in front of the board and you're never going to see the report of your life, now they're going to go in front of the parole board. It's going to say to them, wow, you never had right? You never lost any good time. They're eligible now. They're eligible to go home now. And I mean, they didn't change their sentence because they want to keep them in prison. It seems to me that they changed the sentence because this was the fastest avenue to get these guys free, and not overturn the sentence or any of that stuff. This is just again, there's no innocence here. These guys are guilty. It just gets down to what the father was doing is that enough of a mitigating circumstance to give these people an opportunity to live the last 30 years of their life for free. And for me, maybe I'm a sucker because I've been in prison, but for me, I'm sure to be happy with those guys' watchers. I hope that they're able to make something wonderful with the rest of their life. And I hope that I think more than likely we're probably going to see them do an awful lot of speaking. Right? These are going to be guys that they're going to be very popular on the cocktail circuit, right? On the speaking circuit, on the speaking tour. These are guys that command the crowd when they show up to tell a story. And I think there'll be a reality. Someone will be reaching out to one to tell the story and all that crap. I imagine that the rest of their life can be interesting if they got more luck to see it. So we're the next subject matter is the Carrie trial. There was no they didn't get together and meet today, but fascinating crap is going on in that case. There's a new video that we didn't see in the first case. I'll tell you something. I'm freaking cynic of biblical proportion. And when the prosecution doesn't hand something over to the defense, they're going to use it in the first trial. But if it could be exculpatory, if they could do something to benefit Carrie, whatever, that's the So anytime something doesn't get, and it's brand new, it's getting turned over, I'm cynic. Why the hell are they turning it over now? Were they afraid they were going to get caught with it? But I don't think that's the case in this. What they're turning over seems almost pointless. Like, who cares? But it's a lot of video of Brian Kay, the guy that works for Alcohol Back on Fire. It's kind of built a fire plug with a jughead. He was the one that was asking Carrie if she was sure she could handle the kind of the But they showed him late night the night that John Keith ended up dead. They showed him talking on his phone as he's walking across the park. No big deal, right? But he said he didn't call me all night and everything was a butt dial. Now you start everything they're doing. I think, and you guys can tell me if you think I'm crazy, if you've been following the trial, you let me know what you think. I think the prosecution is going to serve up Brian on silver platter. I think they know this case is over. I think they know who killed. I really believe they think that John was killed by the portly federal agent from Alcohol Back on Fire. There's also some question now to whether or not his sweatshirt in the new video is the same one that he was wearing when he left the waterfall. He didn't go home. And the conspiracy theorist in all this goes, why would he have to change his shirt? Do you have blood on it? And why is he calling somebody? He said, went up there, parks some cars, and he said, and then he called a friend, he was 20 seconds. He said, no, I must have been butt dial. So you butt down your friend. Your friend answered with butt dial. Yeah, there was 20 seconds to something because the phone company just closed, as they will say. But they were closed that something happened. And the argument was they asked him, you have a conversation 20 seconds. He said, no, I'm with you. How about this one here, right? Somebody wants to start telling me, hey, man, is he dead? Did you move the body yet? Holy shit, man. Did you clean everything up? All right, I'll talk to you in a bit. Would that take 6 seconds? I promise you, they just got a quick one. But he's got the phone lit up like the 4th of July was here. Why are they releasing this? I think that, honestly, the prosecution might be trying to say, here's your boy. This is the guy that did it. The biggest thing in the Carrie trial. I hope everybody's as angry about this as I am. Mrs. Folks, good to see you. How about you? Heather Rose, good to see you. I'm most angry about the fact that Carrie is not guilty of what she's accused of. She was really loaded that night. She was so loaded she wasn't sure whether or not she ran over. But that's not something that she just second degree murder. So the sad part of this is that the first one ended in a hung jury, right? So if they can't convict her this time, if it ends up in a hung jury or not guilty, then what? Then what? John Keith's killer just does what? Goes back to work? Well, that's what happens with a botched police investigation. Somebody decides before the investigation starts that you're guilty, then they're not going to look at anybody else. And that's really what happened. They go inside the house. Also, if you've been following the trial, there's some fascinating stuff. I watched it with Johnny Scoble, and I can't tell you how many times we went over it. But right as they're leaving that bar, and the guy grabs Brian. To me, I'm a dude that used to party in the that dude was telling him not to invite John back to the house. So it looks like to me, maybe I'm crazy. But he's waving to John doing this one. The guy grabs his sleeve, looks at him, that's what he's done. I was like, someone doesn't want that dude's house. Well, we know that dude doesn't have his house. And then he ended up down the long following day. So there's a lot of fascinating stuff coming out. I was a little about the trial, and go today, but it is. We got the ditty. So if you stuck around for the whole 25 minutes, 55 seconds, here's the payoff. We're talking about Sean Combs. I haven't done that in a very long time. But if you've been following, it's kind of hard to get a transcript. So you got to read the Cassie Ventura to stand today. Since yesterday, I was packing doing stuff. I did not take up speed on the opening statements for the defense of the prosecution. I'll be honest. After reading both of them, I'm not so sure either of them out of the park. But the defense sucked. The defense literally started off by saying, as basis, this case is about love. Are you kidding? You want to talk about tone deaf? You're going to go in and say to this jury that this is a case about love, knowing full well that the beat down of Cassie Ventura is going to be shown to the world. You're going to pitch this that these are just two star-crossed lovers who like to engage in some really weird sex stuff. That's just how they get down, and it's all consensual. Right? That's the defense. It was awful. It's an uncomfortable opening statement to listen to. It's tone deaf. I'm like, big up. But the prosecution, on the other hand, this is the prosecution's problem. The prosecution's problem, as I see it, is this is how the case is trying to explain something from a legal standpoint. I can come on here and talk into the fact that Sean Combs is guilty. Right? In fact, I think anybody who's speaker talking about. The problem becomes that when the jury becomes involved, they're going to jury instructions. There's going to be all these things that it's not going to be, well, he's a bad guy, so you got to go to prison. It's okay. What does the prosecution have to meet as a level of burden on RICO in order to convict this dude? And the prosecution has spent a lot of time trying to explain to them why this is this unique crime. It's a crime. That sucks. If the prosecution has to explain this case, that's not a good thing. Doesn't mean they're giving this, but it's not a good thing, right? It really is, especially because we all watch Law and Order, and it's simple as how Law and Order guys never rape. We don't explain that. This guy's never stealing stuff. This guy's never murdered. None of this needs to be explained. But when we say, okay, Sean Combs is a billionaire, right? Or allegedly, is a billionaire. He is a tycoon. He owns a record company. He owns a television or home television channel, streaming service or whatever, Revolt TV, TV Network. And they go through all that stuff. Then they have to say, but he has so many of the people involved in that business whose job it is to facilitate freak offs and all the other stuff he does. We talked about this a million times on the boat. And for all of you, you're going to go, oh no, I can get it, right? She was trying to listen to Nancy Grace. And listen to the Nancy Grace meeting. I tapped out for a while. Stupid trials here. And as I was telling everybody last week, I'm going to be hanging out for the trial. So it's going to be I have a vacation. Christy, can see it. I'm going to be taking one vacation prior to moving to my new locale. But before that, I'm heading to New York to cover the Summit of the Mini Trial. I need to go out there and check it out. It's something that needs to happen. I'll keep you guys all in the loop on that. That's going to probably happen next week. It doesn't happen next week. I'll happen at the beginning of the following week. But it's coming. We're going to go out there and check it out. I'm bringing Johnny Scott with me. We're going to go to New York together. So here's the problem as I see it with this case. I think that it's a lock that they're going to get. They're not having a problem proving any of the charges against Sean Combs. RICO's going to be a challenge. It doesn't mean they can't do it. And what I find frustrating is that even the talking heads. Hold on a second. Tom can state charge domestic violence admitted in Fed case. It's double jeopardy. You know what, Kirsty? This is really, really ugly, right? So what she's asking is what happens if the person beats domestic violence in the state? Like you're accused of beating your husband or your wife, whatever the case may be, and the state drops it, and then the feds pick it up. Now, that would be unusual because domestic violence is not a federal offense, right? However, it brings up an interesting subject because this happens with drugs. Oftentimes there'll be a state case, the state will prosecute and lose, and then the feds will pick it up and prosecute and win. Now you would say that's double jeopardy, but technically they're not the same laws. You're being charged in two different courts. It's shitty, but it happens. I mean, it happened to John Gotti, that's how I got, right? He beat state crime, and as soon as he was done, they charged him RICO, and the feds did the exact same murders. He did it. RICO's a way to charge people twice. It really is. If you don't catch the first time, you always RICO and bring it to the feds. I mean, they did that to Gotti, to be sure. But they can admit the domestic violence in the federal court even if he's been not convicted. The reason is this is a RICO case. In a RICO case, they can bring in prior bad acts. If they can document the prior bad acts happened, it doesn't matter whether or not he's convicted. And this is why in the opening day we saw a bunch of stars, like or during one year, there were a bunch of stars faces. They may talk about this person. They talk about that person. One of the reasons was like Kid Cudi's name came up. Everybody knows the story, right? I don't even have to tell you. Everybody knows the story. Somebody blew up. Hold on a second. It's one of those weird setups that the Kid Cudi blowing up his car thing. They're not going to charge him with that. But if you've got people working for you, right? Because Diddy didn't blow that car up. Allegedly, Diddy sent someone out to blow that car. So if Diddy used employees a bad way to go out and burn Kid Cudi's Rolls Royce Corniche, right? And blow it up, that is a prior bad act. It shows that his corporation, his company, was doing things to further his weird life, right? And his weird life involved abusing women sexually. Super weird. And you know what's involved? Hiring male sex workers to come out and have sex with the girl you love. And then when they finish, it needed to be, and this is going to get graphic, folks, but this was in the testimony today. Diddy wants the baby batter like saved and then rub all over his nipples. Apparently that's his get down. And I said a million times, why did they be the fish while somebody squirts with a super soaker full of extra virgin olive oil? It's not nothing to do with me. I don't care. That's none of my business. That's how that's his get down. That's his get down. The question becomes, this came up on stand today with Cassie Ventura. Cassie took a stand and talked about how she was involved with this guy. And they asked her what freak off was, and she described what freak offs were and how they worked. And they said, why would you do this? Right? Why would you do it the first time? And I think Cassie's a damn good witness. I didn't get to see it, but you get to hear it. You get an idea of you get an idea of her stance on the stand. And what Cassie's stance on this was, you know what? It was a little sick and twisted and exciting. And I don't know if you have anything sexually you probably shouldn't have done. That's usually what it's like. Like you do it for free, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Your there's excitement. Like, woo! Now we're off. And then she didn't want to do it anymore. And that's what she said. And they said, well, you sent text messages that said, you were looking forward to it. And she said, I look forward to being alone with Sean Combs. And the only time that happened was during freak offs. She said she loved him, but she did these things to make him happy. And then it evolved. And she did these things because she didn't use him to beat the crap out of her. We talked about this ad nauseum on the lifeboat. That if you transport somebody across state lines for sex, we're taking care of one of the charges right there. That's a lie. The sex worker said he got paid. These people get falling all over the place. We're not worried about that convicted. Now, was he enticing her to do this? Well, the character state wasn't it? She got a 10 record deal, right? She was going to make 10 records with Bad Boy. She made one. He didn't really want to make more than that. He wanted a really young, really pretty girl who he could buy boobs for, and then he could hire men to abuse. And you know what? They had to do it in shifts apparently. Right? That understands that he was coming in. There was another guy already there because these things go on for 10 hours or more. I mean, honestly, I'm not one, but as a dude, I don't want to have sex for 10 hours. I mean, maybe she's not across the old dude, but I don't want to do anything for 10 hours. For real, I can't think of anything I want to do for 10 consecutive hours. You know, and there were days there were freak off sessions that went on for days. Well, I mean, I guess if you're just sitting and watching. But this is I think this is a pretty sick puppy. And some interesting stuff happened yesterday. These kids got up and left the room when the male sex worker, I'm sorry, he's a sex worker. He's the sex worker. The male sex worker, when he was on stand, they left. And my guess is they left because dad said to him, when the male sex workers there, don't stay around. That's my gut. Because they didn't have a problem staying there today and watching videos of their dad beat up Cassie or listening to Cassie talk about how often he beat on her. Right? The kids were all cool hearing that. But they left the male sex workers there. They didn't want to hear the gay stuff. That's really what it comes down to. Right? They didn't want to want kids to hear anything about sexual life for anybody. Right? And I don't think he's proud of his bisexuality or homosexuality or whatever it is. I don't think I got an info what it is. But whatever the hell he is, he doesn't want people to think he's gay. Right? I mean, all the things going on in his life, there's a lot more that he should be worried about other than being gay. You feel me? Like if that's the worst of these crimes, I mean, we can live with that. Right? That's not that big a freaking deal. Your sexual preference isn't that big a deal unless you're forcing people, forcing them to take drugs and do all this stuff. It was also very depressing to hear her on stand talk about how inexperienced she was. She was a 19-year-old girl when the first time he kissed her. She was just a little girl, and he was 17 years older. And she said she never oral sex was a brand new concept. Oral sex was a brand new concept. And she got with a freak, right? She got with a freak. This is a dirty dude. This is a guy that he wants a lot of people in the room. And I'll tell you another thing that was a little disturbing. I was reading the transcripts, and you can't get a good feel from transcripts. But there was a point today, or maybe yesterday, that Judge Subramanian had to say, hey, no, I think we're about baby oil. Like they would beat it to death. And when you read it, it doesn't even sound like it flows. Like they would say, so baby oil is part of the ritual. And she would say, they'd say, yeah, 10 bottles. I'd have 10 bottles of baby oil at freak off, right? And Astro Blind and all that stuff, 10 bottles. And he goes, so what was done with it? And apparently, Diddy would leave every all the guys do whatever. They didn't happy. But he was living with this baby oil. Okay, then what did you do with the baby oil? Okay, then what did you do with the baby oil? Until the judge literally like, hey, I know it's really early in the trial, but I think, I don't know, man. I don't think they got as bad as all of the stuff that we heard about videos. And I've talked about this a lot in the last few videos. I'm guilty of sin of taking things and reporting them. That I mean, I always allegedly, I always did that stuff. But in the future, folks, I will report stuff like that in a different way because I've had my eyes opened uniquely in the last 90 days. You know, I spent weeks literally researching stories I knew were bullshit. I spent weeks looking at stories I knew were patently absurd lies to keep track of how many views people were getting, putting out stories that they knew had zero basis in fact. Zero. I'm not talking about stuff about me. I'm talking about big stuff. Guys are putting out millions of views on fake stories. One right after the other. And sadly, right, fake news, which we all left the terrestrial news up there, right? That has a 7% acceptance rate because we couldn't believe anything they were telling us. And then you come down here to a social media platform where hopefully you're going to be away from that. And unfortunately, money just works its way into all this stuff, doesn't it? And it gets down to clicks. Sean Combs is a bad man. He's a very bad man. He's done a lot of really bad things to an awful lot of people. I believe that. That said, about 90% of what we hear I think is BS. Now, everybody can admit if 10% of what we heard is true, it's enough to make you want to just walk away and be you know. But 10% would do it. But I promise you, we're lucky if 10% of those 130 cases turn out to be real. And I'm really disappointed in the attorney who came out and told us that half of these women went to the police, half of these women went to the hospital for reports. And I went, okay, hey, half of these women went to the police. Well, they didn't. It's not all true. You know, there were women who made police reports. There are definitely men and women who made police reports, but sure, she wasn't half of them. There was a lot of editorial license taken on the day to get that press conference. And I'm no legal beagle, and I really am not. Like I understand a little bit what happens in the crime and stuff, but I don't understand how you can go out and say the things that you do, right? And then not deliver as badly as he's not delivering. For real. I think that it's going to be a real fecal storm when this case is over. I'll tell you my prediction right now. I think it's a lock on 2 out of 3. I know it's early in the trial, but the only thing that I think they're going to be hung up trying to prove is going to be the RICO. And not because I don't think he's guilty. And they're laying the proper framework. One of the things that they're doing with Cassie on the stand is making sure that she can identify who everybody is. Oh yeah, that's so-and-so. He does this for Dave. Or for Sean. That's so-and-so. He does this. The fact that she's aware of who the money guy is, or who books hotels, who does this. She was her responsibility to book the towns back. She would have to call the male prostitutes and arrange payment and have them come over with code words and all that. And a lot of people are hung up on that. A lot of people are hung up on, well, she hated this. Why would she be like this? If you're scared, right? This is your career, your life, and everything. I think that we got to not put on the trial that I had as quickly as we've all done in the past. Cassie's amazing. Really love me and you song Jessica Simpson. Really just pure grace and talent without the negative shame of great world we live in. Trying to adversity. You know what? It's what's sad is they had, you know, this is a guy that had the entire world as his oyster, right? Diddy had the same age, roughly, right? He's like a year older than I, but he lived the first half of his life almost like a pharaoh, right? Maybe not the first 20 years, but right around the time he started to take the reins and start Bad Boy. He has had nobody tell him no for a very long time. Now I don't think it's as bad as we've all had it made out to be. I'm going to be really interested to see if what pans out on some of the cases that we reported on the early days of the lawsuit. The 9-year-old, 14-year-old, the guy at the Macy's store, right? Some of these stories I'm really looking forward to seeing how these play out because the more you look into it, right? The suspension of disbelief necessary. And I know people are going to say to me, Curtis, we do that all the time. Put it to in the chat, right? If Sean Combs said to you, leave your kid here with me, he's going to sing an audition, come back and get it in about 3 hours. Put it to in the chat if your response would be, F you twice. You want me to drop off my 9-year-old with a rock star and come back in 3 hours? Probably not, right? Probably not. I don't think anybody else is going to do that. I know that people are going, well, there's parents out there really want. I see a parent going, I'll stick around, right? You know, I'm going to be in the next room, but the next room I'm right there. See me right there and right there. So much of this just doesn't pass the smell test. All of these parents have just be so money hungry that they went, no, go ahead, take it, do it, right? Because once again, in every single scenario, right? The victim gets there, he's offered a drink, she's offered a drink, they take it, gets it really fast. Probably anti-hydroxybutyrate acid, because that does come on very, very quickly. It also leaves a pretty vicious hangover, right? And I don't mean hangover like you get from booze. I just mean that you look like you're wasted for hours after you come to it. So you're not, you slur. Like no parents just pick their kid up going, you know, Junior looks okay. Good audition? No, that never gonna happen. It would be a very, very messed up kid for hours and hours and hours after he came to. Just none of it passes the smell test. The handy feature under the 3 dots. I don't know what that question means, but if somebody help our friends, I have no idea what that means. How did parents do that with Michael Jackson? Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't have, right? I wouldn't have. But there was the thing with Michael Jackson is just that's such a, I could do 6 shows on that. We should probably do one because it would really take a long time. Mickey Mouse, Johnny Young, Talent Church, plenty of places that could look. Oh, no question. Here's the thing. We talked at length about Nickelodeon, right? I mean, we did shows on Old Time over Dan. What was the last Connor Dan? No, Dan. The hell was his name? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The guy from got to change the logo at Nickelodeon to be feet. I did feet too, but I don't make kid shows. You know, yeah, it was really pretty ugly stuff that was happening over there. Really ugly stuff was happening over at yes, Snyder. Thank you. We got that first. Thank you. Dan Schneider, low life. Sorry, not allegedly. Dan, you're a bad person. For real, everybody that's been near that dude said he is a full-fledged creep. And to what extent we don't know. Allegedly, not got 20 years, not got abortions, all kinds of really, really disgusting stuff. But you know what? Hollywood, if you're making money. So when I reported on that, they would say the parents would all show up. Right? They all go down to the party, and they'd say, yeah, we got cocktails and food and everything else in there. So they always have some big names. They stop by, like, you know, pick your favorite star. You know, hey, this famous person's gonna be there. Everybody want to be a couple. Oh, cool. And your kids were taking over for a little photo shoot. You're gonna do a bikini party pool. Like, at what point, you know, how bad do you just love money and honestly just let it all go? Yeah, take my 14-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid to a bikini party. I'll just be miles away. A photo shoot. Yeah, okay. Creepy. But I don't know, man. Hollywood parents are nightmare, right there. What was the name of the book? All right, somebody help me. What was the name of the book? I'm glad you're dead. Isn't that the name of the book that the girl wrote from the Nickelodeon actress? She did this story so long ago. I used to remember things like that. I had a great memory, but it's the old gray matter ain't what it used to be. You know what I mean? But she wrote a book called Bad Memories Never Glad You Died or something like that. And she had a stage mom, really pushed her, and she had also been under Dan Snyder and worked. That was terrible use of words. She was directed by Dan Snyder, who was part of the iCarly thing, and worked with Jamie Lynn Spears. And what could go wrong? Yeah, Britney's little sister over there, and God help us. The Kardashian mom's creepy, do you think? Yeah, Stephen Miller, right? That is a really creepy one. That is a really creepy one. Yeah, just real quick as far as stage moms go. Let me tell you just how creepy they are. I'm not 100% sure of it, but allegedly there are really solid sources that said that the sex tape was a complete setup. There were 3 different versions of it. So they filmed them having sex in 3 different versions, and then mom sat at the kitchen table with the daughter and picked which one was the best. And I want to tell you something. I don't care what that would do to my career. There's no way I could sit with one of my parents and watch me having sex with somebody and say, what do you think? Right, which one shows my best side? That to me is it strains at the thank you, Jeanette McCurdy, well played. You're proud of me, right? It's and the love of money, right? The love of money. And well, the Bible lesson, right? Money is the root of all evil. It doesn't say that. It doesn't, I promise. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. And you know how much you got to love money to sit at the table and watch your daughter get somebody fellatio and say, you look a lot better than that one, right? The jawline, trying to get this one, that picture, it's all that. That's to me the most twisted thing I've ever heard. To be honest, I remember reading that going, there's no way it's true. And you start trying to see if there's anybody else to back that up. According to the people who tell that story, by the way, Brady had a contract with her. And did he help write the contract? Allegedly, that's what people say. That has been said. I promise it is. It's pretty disgusting. It really is pretty disgusting. The problem is, we think we actually know celebrities when in fact we do not. Yeah, I think that's got something to do with it. You know, I do. I also think there's a great, cliche old adage that says, never meet your heroes, right? And the reason they say that is because we build heroes up in our heads to be something that they're not, right? I mean, the basketball player or the football player or whatever. Great example. I'll give one from my world, sort of. Kind of skiing, I do this freestyle, but I would get very often confused, especially if we happened to be all traveling at the same time. There was a skier who was very talented and way better, but in a different genre of skiing, Bodie Miller. Well, I was Brett Miller, right? So, and we were pretty close to the same age, we were competing at the same time. But he was a gate crasher, he did downhill swallow, things like that. But people are like, oh, you guys read it, did you get that all for time? I go, no, no relation at all. But he made the Olympics was killing it, and they interviewed him for a major story. And he said, I really love training for downhill, drinking. I like have a few beers before I go and train for downhill, which is the dumbest thing in the entire world, right? Like even if you're a really good skier, alcohol can kill you. Because skiing is a sport that you don't want to do with buzz through it. Yeah, I was a skier, I love it. But I never, you don't do it. What's his name? Sonny Bono was an incredibly accomplished skier. In fact, I've seen Sonny Bono when he was alive. He was an incredibly talented skier, gifted. But if you drink, he was too skiing. Like if you give me a list of actors who I knew about in their skiing prowess, he'd not even the guy without drinks. He was talented. But booze will screw that up. So to read, Bodie Miller talking about this, I remember thinking to myself at the time, if you're a kid and you got posters of this guy on your wall, you just want to get shit faced before you ski. When I was growing up, if my heroes said do something, I would have done it. I thought that those people walked on water. I thought that those people lived in a world that was just better than mine in every way, right? Sonny Bono was a guy, a little Scientologist. I had no idea. The only time I ever spent with Sonny Bono was skiing. I worked as a ski ambassador, and I used to take people around when they came to the resort. I just skied with them. I was 6 7 times. He was a very, very good skier, but we never had an LRH discussion. I had no idea he was a Scientologist. I'm really surprised. I'm a little bummed out. That 70 show was classic for something I didn't have was dark, and I didn't care for asking him either. We all know that. Yeah, that wasn't that didn't work out so well. I'm obviously not a huge Scientology, and they're not a big fan of me. Yeah, we do not know which resort I worked. I worked at a bunch of when I was at the time Snowbird Mountain Resort in Utah. But ski ambassador place, the job that I did take people around skiing, I was in Snowbird. But I've worked at a lot of ski areas. So, if you're a ski bum, also that's kind of bum, right? But if you're a ski bum, you work a lot. You end up working a lot. He drank alcohol while skiing, and he also had a lot of Lortab in his system, which is again flies in the face of Scientology, all the medication and stuff. But I had no idea he was Scientology. It really bums me out. Yeah. Yes, my straight temple. We have warnings about child acting modeling. Only a society can change our community. Here's the thing. I'm the last guy in the world that says, what we need to do is legislate this. I hate government. And usually I think they get involved in anything, they screw things up and make it worse. There you go. That's my opinion on government. That said, there do need to be laws, right? If you're going to have a show and there's going to be 12, 13, 14-year-old girls and boys on it, then you should have people there who are advocates for the kids, where literally their job is to just make sure that kid is never alone with anyone, right? For real. Like there should never be a time where an adult and a kid can't be found together. And there are things that they could do. If we can figure out a way to make smelting steel safe, right? If OSHA can go and do things that's done to make manufacturing safe in this country, we sure should make child acting safe in this country, right? I believe that. Lortab, hydrocodone. It's Lortab comes in 5 milligram, 7.5 milligram, and extra strength, which is 10, just like Vicodin. Same drug, different, like Coke and Pepsi. Honestly, a little bit difference between anti-inflammatories. Again, not a doctor. I'm not prescribing you anything. I'm just a recovered drug addict that did every single pill you do on planet Earth, and quite a Lortab as well. Vicodin, same drug, absolutely same drug. Difference is Lortab, or Vicodin rather, had the special trial effect. So if you got the name brand, they had these little dots that were either green or they're not a capsule or a pill, but there'd be green ones, blue ones, and I remember the other ones. We never got the small ones, but my friends call special drugs. Wow, Scientology labeled PTS. Control source connected to an SP. I got news for you. I think all of you are probably connected to a handful of SPs. No, Darvocet. Darvocet's an unusual substance. I used to be a fan of Darvocet. They don't write a lot of prescriptions for it anymore. It's share with the SP. Checks out. I was more of a Yeah, it's who cares? We're all friends. When David Letterman got Sonny and Cher to get together for the first time after all those years on a late night show, one was on, took the other one showing up, and then they sang "I Got You, Babe," and I was rolling. I was in college my freshman year, and me and like 4 or 5 other like steroided out peckerwoods, right? White boys, all juicing up, doing juice, and just sitting around, no shirts on, like trying to look cool, crying our asses off on mushrooms when they started singing "I Got You, Babe." Like 7 guys in a row tripping on mushrooms and sobbing like girls. It was a moment. I wish I had it on film, but it's a commonly used label in the Church of Scientology. Yes, that one I knew. I dated one. I'm not sure you knew that, but I dated a next Scientologist. At least I think she was next Scientologist. I'm kidding. I'm just being a dick. She's definitely next Scientologist. Just being me. All right, peeps. You know what? Holy hell, we made another hour. So I'm going to be hopefully talking about some Karen Reed stuff tomorrow. Let's get back on that bandwagon. It depends whether or not today's weird. I'm not exactly sure what was going on. I got all excited about it because this one was. I'm gonna follow Karen Reed more than MD. I will change that up to be sure. I'm gonna read the transcripts every day. But we'll get together and talk about it because I know that boy, bunch of you reach out to please just kind of do some stuff. So you know what? I really appreciate that because that's funnier than hell, man. Giovanni Ribisi, also a Scientologist. The Ribisi family, big Scientologists. Few child actors are protected enough. Giovanni Ribisi was a rare exception. Great actors, just did the cinematography for my new favorite movie, Strange Darling. Highly recommend. There you go. Yeah, he's a big. I don't know if he's still practicing, but his family is definitely they're big Scientologists. A lot of these people try to deny that they're Scientologists when they're like back. Right? That's not a Scientologist. Just ask him. But every time he's a Scientologist, they go, I know him. No, that's a Scientologist. But every time they interview, he says, no, I know, no. All right, peeps. So I apologize for yesterday. I'll tell you what. To all of you who reach out, I'm sorry you have to move. People don't have to do anything. I promise. The time has come that there's a lot of people who know where I live, and so the other thing too, people say, sorry, I love this place. I really do. It's beautiful. I really dig here. But I get the wanderlust. I do. And when I was moving, I was really like when I was going to go to the desert, I'm going to go to the ocean, and this time I'm going to go to the ocean. That's it. I'm moving somewhere where I can surf. You know why? Because I don't know how. I think it'll be fun. No, I just want to water. That's the truth. And so everything's getting boxed up, and I'll be moving. So, all right, peeps. I appreciate all your support. You guys rock. You really do. I will be back tomorrow night at the same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. I may be back during the day. My back feels like it does right now, people, and I will definitely be doing my feeling $1 million a month. My back feels. I mean, my pay level's probably free, and that doesn't happen very often. So, looking forward to tomorrow. People, between now and next time I see you, it's a simple assignment. Deadhead, you can call me Date My Sister. I love your name. All right, peeps. I got a steal your face tattoo. I think it's been called. No one ever got that right. Some old woman. See, I went on and said I had a steal your face tattoo. I said where it was, and it's checking out later. He's got a tattoo. It's not. Yeah, my ex-wife. Between now and next time I see you, reach out. Try to reduce a little more. Okay, people. I'll see you on the next one. Love you guys. Be good.
Just ended, and look who get a load who I listen. Shine Divine TV is out here covering the trial too, y'all. If you don't follow, why don't you tell them your socials?
I'm Shine Divine at Shine Divine TV. SS and Co with the brand. Out here with Tisa Tell covering the P Diddy trial. I'm sure y'all tapped into everything that she's doing. She's taking over the algorithm. One of the hardest working women on YouTube, and we're out here covering it.
That's right. You guys, listen. Everybody going crazy. Listen, make sure y'all follow Shine Divine. He is doing the thing. Y'all already know my loud mouth perspective, but if you want this from a very intelligent, conscious man to actually know how it's going on, make sure y'all check out his social. Shine, thank you so much. All right, y'all. So with no further ado, let's get into what we found out in the trial. Y'all are not going to believe this. Cassie testified in court that D-Rock was one of Diddy's security people. Now, here's the thing. They showed a picture of D-Rock on the screen, okay? Now, y'all know I was in the trial. This is all coverage, but I believe that there was a bombshell that was just dropped off about that. What is the actual bombshell? Y'all, D-Rock was Biggie's best friend. As a matter of fact, people that are conspiracy theorists say that Biggie would have never gone out if D-Rock hadn't pushed the issue. There's a little beef behind that. However, if this is the same D-Rock and the picture looks like the same D-Rock based upon information and belief, it actually looks like that Cassie had testified that Diddy and D-Rock literally scooted up and rolled out on Suge Knight, and they looked like they was going to try to murk that man. They said they were dressed in all black. They said that they had the little collars on. They said they probably had some dark Air Force One energy on there too, right? Liberia Rose, hey, what's up, Liberia? How are you doing? But in any case, this is what Cassie testified. I have my notes. I'm going to pull them out. You know we are right at 500 Pearl Street. Doing the thing. Here's the fit. Yes, y'all can't see it, but I'm on my legal eagle. Whatnot, trying to keep it professional. But y'all, who is D-Rock, you guys might add? All right, let's get into this. D-Rock, whose real name is Damian Butler, that is Diddy's security, was a close friend and confidant of the notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace. Their friendship began in their childhood home in Brooklyn and evolved over time. D-Rock is known for taking a bang charge on Biggie's behalf, which led him to serving time in prison. After his release, D-Rock became Biggie's personal assistant and managed his career until his passing. Again, there's a little controversy. We're not saying that hey, Tracy Andrews, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. We're not saying that D-Rock did anything, but I do know that if you go on Twitter, oh my God, wait. I almost forgot to lead with the biggest thing. I'm going to do a story about this later. Do you know that Cassie testified that during the freak-offs, Diddy, you can't tell me this ain't childhood trauma. I'm looking at Janice Combs like, what happened in that house? Listen to what Diddy was into. He would demand that the escort either eject on Cassie's stomach or inside her tunnel of love. And then Diddy would demand that Cassie go into the room next door. And when Cassie went into the room next door, he would make Cassie rub that juice, right? He would make Cassie rub that juice on his nipples and his chest. Diddy like Cassie to take the male sex workers pudding. I'm trying not to get demonetized, but it's probably a long while. Take the pudding and rub it on his chest and his tatas. Melvina Cook, thank you so much for the super chat. And Hibiscus Rose, thank you so much for the super chat. On top of that, the judge made a ruling. I'm going to get back to the D-Rock story about the Biggie stuff, but I just got out of court, so much news to tell y'all. On top of that, the judge made a ruling about the press. The judge made a ruling about the press. If you guys don't know, the press had their own lawyers coming in and said, listen, this is the public interest. We need to know everything. Thank you, Ebony, for the super chat. And we need to find out everything. You guys, thank you so much for super chatting. Listen, this is my love letter to you guys. I used my own money and my own time to fly out and cover this trial. Again, I might not have celebrations at 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 subbies, but baby, I do be writing y'all love letters. Because when you ask for something, I'll go out of my way to do it. Anyway, the judge made a ruling. I'm telling y'all the breaking news before we get back into the Biggie, Tupac stuff that Cassie testified on, all right? So, so the judge literally ruled on it. Because apparently May, who is victim number 2, Cassie, who's victim number 1, and the prosecutors are like, no, I don't care who needs to see it. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, I don't care who needs to see it. Because those materials were meant for blackmail materials. They were meant to hurt. They were meant to humiliate. Sharina Wilson, thank you so much. You said amazing coverage, T. So keep up the good work. Be sure to get rest. I am going to get some rest later on. Y'all know when I'm on the grind, I'm on the grind. Anyway, right? Also, Egyptian deity, thank you so much for the super chat. Y'all